Hello there, you young folks. It's lovely to be able to talk to you. I've missed all your happy, smiling faces this last few months. It's good to have the opportunity to share a little something with you. I believe you've been going through a series of heroines and heroes in the Bible, and there are so many. Actually, I could recommend a really good book, which is 1 Samuel, and that's absolutely chock full of heroines and heroes. So it's quite difficult to be able to pick one out of all of them. But the one I would like to talk to you about today is Abigail. The reason why I've chosen Abigail is she's perhaps not so well known as some of the others, like maybe David and all those people. So I thought we'd have a look. And you can find her story actually in 1 Samuel chapter 25. So to do a little bit of background, in that time, David and his men, they were living in the wilderness. They were being pursued by Saul because Saul was wanting to kill David. And at that particular time, Samuel, the wonderful prophet, David's mentor and friend, had died. So David was at a particularly low ebb. So here he was in the wilderness with his men. And nearby there was a very rich man lived. His name was Nabal. And it tells us there that he had a wife whose name was Abigail. And she was very beautiful and she was also very intelligent. So, and the background was obviously in those days, women were not counted as much at all. They were just told what to do and that kind of thing. So they had no status in life. So that didn't deter Abigail in any way at all. So Nabal was there. He was very, very rich, and he had lots of flocks. And his men were out there looking after the flocks. And David's men, because they had lots of like marauders who would come and steal and thieve, steal the sheep, attack the men. David and his men looked after Nabal's flocks, helped them, guarded them, protected them from intruders, basically. So the story tells us that it comes to the fact when David and his men were wanting food, and they thought, okay, we'll ask Nabal if he will give us some food. So David sent some of his men to ask, please, will you give us some food? And Nabal was very rude and horrible and said, look, why should I? Forgetting all about the fact that David and his men had been protecting them, he just refused. He had plenty of money, he had plenty of goods that he could have given, but he just point blank refused to do it. So David's men went back and told David. So the first thing David said, strap on your swords like we're just going. So he was going to go and have a battle, and obviously they would kill a lot of the people that were there, Nabal and his men. But one of the men went to Abigail and told her what had happened. He said that her husband had refused. And so she was wise enough to recognize the situation. So she got everything ready. She got food ready, loaded up horses with food and everything that David and his men could want. And she put herself in danger by going. And when she got to where David and his men were, she fell on the ground, bowed towards David and said, oh, please don't kill us. Please forgive my husband is very silly. Please forgive us. And please accept these gifts that I'm bringing. Well, David immediately recognized, and he said he realized that it was God had sent her to stop him from basically spilling innocent blood. So she had put her whole life in danger to protect her own people. So it was just such an amazing thing to do for a woman in that culture to put herself in that position. So David realized that it was God saving him from spilling innocent blood. So he said that he would accept the gifts and he wouldn't attack her family and all that she was connected with. So that was absolutely amazing. I mean, she wasn't a sort of heroine who was like a queen and she was powerful. She was just a simple housewife. But in that position, she put herself in danger to save the people that she loved. So she averted danger, not just for herself and her all that she loved, but also she was able to help David from doing something which was basically would have been wrong and put him in a wrong position. So it's really, really amazing, a really amazing story. So it tells us that she averted disaster and David recognized that it was God who had sent her. So she saved the day, basically. So what I'm saying is, what can we learn from this? I mean, we can learn that whether we're male or female, we can be used by God to be a blessing. And we're able to make a difference. No matter what circumstances we're living in, we can make a difference in this world. We really can. You might feel you're young. You might feel you're only at school and college. What can you do? But you can make a difference because God is in your life. And no matter what circumstances you're in. In 2 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 18, it tells us that God has reconciled us to himself. But it also goes on to say, God gives us a ministry of reconciliation. In other words, like Abigail, in a way, she reconciled David and his men to the situation and avoided the situation, reconciled David and his men to her family and brought about peace, basically. And we can be the same. We can look out the situations as we walk day by day with the Lord, and he will help us to reconcile people to each other, whether it's children squabbling in school. There's all sorts of different ways in which, whether we're young or old, whether we're male or female. This happens to be a lady, Abigail, but it could be you if you're a young chap. Always looking out for ways in which we can bring people together and cause harmony and peace. So that's what we can learn. We can learn that we can make a difference, and we can learn to practice the ministry that God's given us, which is to reconcile people to each other. But also, the end of the story doesn't end there for Abigail, because her husband died, and when David found out that she was a widow, he sent for her and made her his wife. So that isn't that absolutely lovely? So everything, she was blessed in every possible way. Everything good came back to her. So that's the thing. I just want to say, if we follow God, sometimes it's tough. And a lot of you have just been going back to school and college now, and it's tough. But if we do what is right and follow God, we will surely be blessed. So it's just lovely to talk to you. I just pray God's blessing on each and every one of you for the days ahead, and look forward to seeing you before long. God bless. Bye-bye.